Okay, so today we're going to be evaluating the 15 highest paid NBA players in the league as it stands today. So there's a couple of different criteria that we're going to be going over, and we're going to be going over a few of their stats, and then we're going to go over the last test, which is something that they refer to as the eye test, to determine whether or not this individual is actually a max player or whether or not this person might just fall underneath that. So let's take a look. Okay, so number 15, Anthony Davis. Now, Anthony gets about 23.2 points. His rebounds are about 9.9. Field 3-point percentage is about 18.6. So that's a drastic drop from his career average. His field goal percentage pretty good still. 53.2. His minutes played 35.1. But his games played is 40. Now, this is the problem that most people have with Anthony Davis, because they state that although he is talented and when he plays like a max player, but it's his durability. Can he go through the entire game without getting injured? And this is where people have their concerns. So is he worth the money? I believe that he is, although I understand the concern, because there's always a curiosity to know whether or not he's actually going to be with you for the entirety of the season. But in terms of his talent, very talented individual. Worth the money when he plays. Next. Now, Chris Middleton. This is an interesting individual because Chris Middleton is an all-star who's making max money. Now, Chris, the reason why I say Chris is interesting is because Chris during the regular season gets about 20.1 points, which is right up there close to Anthony as well, right? His number of steals is 1.2, his assists is 5.4, his rebounds is 5.4 as well. His free throws, excellent free throw shooter. It's 89%, 3 points is 37.3%, and his field goal percentage rate 44.3. Now, for the position that he plays, that's excellent. That's excellent stats. Minutes played 32.4, and his games played, he also played 66. Definitely worth the money that you're putting out for Chris, because he's an excellent asset for someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Next person. Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris of the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, Tobias is another one. Although I don't believe Tobias is as talented as Chris Middleton, he's still a key piece, averaging about 17.2 points in the regular season. His steals are 0.6, blocks 0.6, assists 3.5, rebounds 6.8, so he's higher than Chris. His free throws, still good, not as good as Chris, are 84.2, and his 3-point percentage is 36.7. The number of games he's played, this is actually what's good about him. He's played 73 games in total for the entirety of the season, and his field goal percentage is 48.2. That is all excellent numbers. However, though, I don't quite think, just based on the eye test, right? If I were to evaluate someone like Anthony, most people have that concern with Anthony. If I were to evaluate Chris, the concern with Chris is not really all that much, right? When he's there, he usually shows up and he's referred to as the Bucks closer. Whereas Tobias, it's kind of on and off every now and then. You really don't know what kind of Tobias is going to show up to the game. So, although I do believe he's a good player, I don't know if he's $35.9 million good, right? Although, again, not to take anything away from him, I just don't know if he's at this point where he's worth that much, especially given the situation where, you know, it could have been Jimmy Butler in that position instead of Tobias. Well, that's just that. Now, speaking of, here comes Jimmy. Jimmy Butler, formerly of the Chicago Bulls, making $36.16,200. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, worth every penny. In fact, in some cases, based on the regular season, you could say Jimmy's one way, but based on the playoffs, you could say Jimmy has some consistency issues, but in the playoffs, he seems to turn it up for the most part. This is what most people like when it comes to someone like a Jimmy Butler. Although in the regular season, he's known for getting about 21.4 points. He played about 57 games, so that's kind of where the concern was. His field goal percentage is about 48%. His 3-point percentage, not really all that good. Still better than Anthony, but for his position, he could stand to be a little better, right? It was actually it decreased about 10%. His free throws, he's an 87% free throw shooter, getting about 5.9 rebounds per game with about 5.5 assists and 0.5 blocks with 1.6 steals. Not bad, absolutely not bad. But listen, Jimmy's what you would consider to be a closer. He's an absolute key piece to the Miami Heat, and when he plays, he gives you everything. You know that he's left everything on the floor, even though sometimes he does have consistency issues where on one game he could give you 40 and on another game he could give you 4. So this is where the inconsistency is with Jimmy, but when it's time to actually hit the road, you know that he's going to show up, for the most part anyway. For the most part. Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson. Now, Klay is a little different. I would consider Klay to be top five 3-point shooters of all time. And he's an excellent crowd in that case. All right. Averaging about 20.4 points with about 0.5 steals, 2.8 assists, 3.9 on the rebounds, and a 90% free throw shooter. Absolutely excellent. His average this season was about 38.5 and 3 points, and his games played, although it was 32, it was because he was temporarily injured. Now, Klay is currently in the finals. Although he hasn't performed to the level of where he was at prior to his injury, he still has shown up, and I have no doubt that within the next season he'll be playing a lot more games, so he'll get his chance to build chemistry with the remaining Warriors. And I have a feeling that Klay will continue to get better as he improves his game back to where it was, if at all possible. But I definitely think Klay is definitely worth the money. Damian Lillard. Now, Dame is another one. Dame is loyal to a fault. Okay? Damian Lillard is absolutely loyal to a fault, because if you're the Portland Trailblazers and knowing that kind of market, you're not going to trade a player like Damian Lillard. You're really not. He averaged about 24 points, and on average, that's usually what he gets. He gets about 24.6 for his career, right? Although this season he only played about 29 games, his field goal percentage, especially for his position, is about 40%. His 3-point shots was about 32.4, and his free throws is about 87.8. His rebounding was 4.1, and his assist was 7.3. Great player. I love Dame. Dame is absolutely exciting to watch, and the problem is though, he doesn't have much to work with around him. I mean, he did have CJ McCollum, and CJ and him tried to build on the relationship that they had and the chemistry that they had, but it wasn't really enough. It was enough to always put them in the playoffs, but it wasn't really ever enough to get them past either the first or second round, right? There's not enough firepower in their offense, especially in their defense, to get them over that hump. So I speculated one time when Giannis was up for trade before he re-signed with the Bucks. I speculated that if Giannis and Damian ever teamed up, I think that would be a force to be reckoned with. But Damian, because of the market and because of how great a player he always is, definitely worth every dollar that they could pay him. And I would venture to say they probably walked out with a steal for the kind of player that Damian is. Let's continue. Kawhi Leonard. Let's start off with some of the good with Kawhi. All right. Now, Kawhi is what you would refer to as give him the ball and let him do his thing. If you just give Kawhi the ball, he'll be able to get you a bucket. Kawhi can get you a bucket in any way necessary. Although he's not a long ball shooter like someone like Steph Curry, his three-point percentage is about 39%. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And although he only played 52 games from the last time that he played, his points on average was about 24.8, rebounding 6.5, assists 5.2, steals 1.6, and then free throws 88.5. Perfect. You can't. What else do you need? He's a mid-range nightmare. This guy. He's absolutely a nightmare for anyone that's facing him off in the mid-range. I believe that he might be, if not Kevin Durant, in terms of his mid-range game, he's probably one of the closest, if not the closest, to Michael Jordan's mid-range game, minus someone like DeMar DeRozan or something like that, right? Now, the problem with Kawhi is something similar to Anthony. You always are concerned if they are sustainable throughout the season. Are they going to get injured again? Are you going to be benching this guy? Because when I can't really recall the last time Kawhi played a full season. I mean, either he's dealing with load management or he's dealing with another injury that he's trying to get off of, right? But this is the majority of the issues when it comes to somebody like Kawhi. But to ask the question, is he worth it? He's worth every dime. Might be worth more when he plays, though. Kind of like his counterpart, Paul George. Speaking of, Paul, although in his Indiana days was, I find a lot better. Listen, the guy's 6'8". The guy's 6'8" and can handle the ball like any guard out there, right? He has hops like any person out there, like the highest jumpers out there. He has a free throw that is excellent. He has a three-point game that is, bar none, damn near untouchable, right? The problem with him, though, is kind of similar to Kawhi, whereas you wonder, are they going to be injured? He's worth the money as well, but it's the same thing like Kawhi. It's when he plays. You can't deny Paul George's talent. You really can't. He's a talented individual, but he's very prone to injuries at the same time. So he makes about 39 million, worth every dime, worth every single dime, especially given the nature of the kind of piece that he is. But it's just, is he sustainable? Let's keep going. Giannis, underpaid, bar none, underpaid. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I hope I said that right. I really hope I said that right, because I know I tend to jack up his name every now and then. Giannis Antetokounmpo, averaging 29.9 points, rebounds 11.6, assists 5.8, blocks 1.4, steals 1.1, free throw, he's worked on that. I'm very happy to say he's worked on that. He's improved that, especially with this season, at 72.2, which is good for him because it means that he's continually getting better. I believe it was 67, 68-ish for the last season, right? And he continues to improve himself. He's played about 67 games. His average minutes is about 32.9. Why? Because he puts up numbers. This guy is a scoring machine. His field goal percentage is 55.3, and his three-point shot is about 29.3. Continuing to improve, and I have no doubt Giannis is a very hard worker. So his career is one that has just gradually gotten better, right? At one point, Giannis could have been getting 6 points, and then he can go from 6 points to 10 points, and then he goes to the next season and then gets you, 15 on average. And now he's at the point where he's getting you 29, 30. This guy easily without scoring any three-pointers could go and get you 50 easily. So I have no concern about Giannis. Giannis is one of these players in the league that I would actually look at and say, this guy, if he's only making 39.04 or whatnot, yeah, underpaid. The Bucks walked out with a steal on this one. Giannis. Look at that look. LeBron. King James. LeBron King James. Listen, LeBron is doing things in year, I believe is it 19 or 20? I think it's 19. LeBron is doing things in year 19 that are superhuman. They're otherworldly. I don't quite know how he does it. I almost think they should test this guy for steroids at this point. Not just because of the way his body is built or whatnot. Just how is he sustaining this? On average, LeBron got about 30.3 points this season. That's insane. That right there is insane. Damn near led the league in scoring, and he's about to break Kareem's record. That record is done, right? Played 56 games. Now his minutes, about 37.2. Field goal percentage 52.4 because he has an absolutely crazy drive. His three-point shot, not the greatest, but 35.9. Free throws, I would think that for someone who is within the top 5 greatest of all time list, free throws might, you'd want to improve that. It's about 75.6. Rebounds 8.2, and for this season, his assist was 6.2, so it is down, right? But that's because he carried the load on a lot more scoring. Well, I could say more about that, whether or not that was necessary. I don't believe that was the Lakers' issue when it came down to scoring. I believe their problem was defense, but that's for another topic. And his steals was about 1.3. LeBron at this age, if you can get him for 39, pay him what he wants. If you can get LeBron, pay him what he wants. If he's going to continually put up these numbers, I think the way I was looking at it, I thought, when he gets to this age, I was expecting maybe 20 points ish, 25 max, but this guy went up and put up 30. I don't know what to tell you after that. LeBron, worth every dollar. Kevin Durant. Arguably my favorite player in the league. I've been a huge fan of Kevin Durant for a while. Kevin, another one, worth every dollar, worth every single dollar. I think he's right on the spectrum of where you want to pay him, right? Getting about 42 million, averaging 29.9 points, played 55 games because of injury. He's another one that every now and then you have to wonder if an injury is going to hit him. Not so much the same way Anthony is, because Kevin's game is a bit more versatile than Anthony, but you do have to wonder, is Kevin going to land on an ankle wrong, or is he going to twist something, right? He's still prone to accidents as well, but when he plays, Kevin delivers. Didn't deliver in the playoffs, but in the regular season and for the most part in the playoffs, he delivers, right? Gets about 29.9 points. He got about 29.9 points this season, played about 55 games. His field goal percentage, especially given the type of shots that he takes, he's a mid-range hurricane. He is a natural disaster. Kevin Durant, his mid-range game, I think might be the best I've ever seen. I'm still giving that to Jordan, but Kevin is right. He's right there. If he's not number one, he's a close number one, very close number one. His 3-point percentage was about 38.3 for this season. His free throws, 91. Take a look at that. His free throws is 91%. Now, this guy's 6'10". I think some people argue that, he is actually a qualified 7-footer, but if that is the case, then that's even more amazing because his free throw shot is crazy, right? He gets about 7.4. He got about 7.4 rebounds and gets about 6.4 assists. This guy, he's one that if you're playing against him, very, very little that you can do. So definitely worth all of the money. Now, for the next couple of guys, this is where it gets a little sketchy. Okay. Russell Westbrook. Let me give him his moment first. Getting about 44 million. Russell in Oklahoma. Worth every dollar. Russell in LA. Russell in Houston. Russell at the Wizards. I would even say Russell at the Wizards. Probably still worth it. Russell Westbrook in LA though. There's not really much I could say about this. I mean, he was anytime the Lakers played, he was the forefront of the conversation, either him or LeBron, right? And it wasn't anything good. Analysts, this is what I'm saying. I don't know how to address this one because analysts had a field day when it came to someone like Russell Westbrook. Why? Because he is a content creator's dream. Now the plus with Russell, and if I could say anything good, you know that with Russell Westbrook, he's going to show up. He played 78 games, and the only reason he didn't play some of the other games is because he quote unquote was injured, right? And got a little injury. I highly doubt that. And they had a little fiasco between him and Frank Vogel. But his field goal percentage for this season was about 44.4. His 3-point percentage was 29.8. Free throws 66.7, way down from his career average. His rebounds were 77.4, and still about the same. His assists was about 7.1, and his steals was one steal per game. Now, if you were to just take Russell at his stats, you'd kind of have to question, like, what is the problem, all right? If you don't know what the problem is with the kind of stats that Russell Westbrook has, I need only point you to Jackson the Fool to get an idea of what kind of issues Russell was having this season. If you don't want to go there, then by all means, go to the next best source, Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless will outline everything wrong with Russell Westbrook for this season. Not so much Shannon, because Shannon was optimistic for certain parts, but he kind of came to and just realized the natural disaster, not in a good way, that was Russell Westbrook for this season. I'm gonna leave it there. So before I actually leave it there, let me ask that question: is he worth it? Oklahoma Russell, yes. Lakers Russell, no. I mean, maybe a quarter of this, maybe about 8 million, 9, 10 maybe. Yeah, but I don't think you could justify 44 to be paying Russell Westbrook more than Kevin Durant or LeBron James. Come on now. John Wall. John didn't play. I mean, what do you want me to say? John didn't play. John has been injured, for half his career? I mean, really not much to say. I mean, when he plays, he puts up okay numbers, right? 20.6 from the last time that he played. His career average is about 19.1. His field goal percentage was about 40.4. 3-point percentage 31.7. Free throws 74.9. And rebounding was about 3.2. He's Russell Westbrook, except Westbrook plays. John just didn't play, so there's not really much I could say about that. So there's no way on earth I can. How much is it? 44 million. I can't justify that. I don't think anyone could justify that. how are you going to pay a guy to sit on the bench? I don't know if that was his decision or if it was the league's decision or if it was the team's decision, Houston. But how, on what planet can this be justified? When he does play, he's okay. But 44 million, really? I mean, this is right up there with number. This is right up there with number one. Number one deserves the money. Like Kevin deserves the money. LeBron, I find, deserved more. LeBron, I think you could make the argument, deserves to be paid the same amount as Kevin. All right, but to think that the guys that are above them are people like Russell Westbrook and John Wall, and then this next person is a next disaster. So next, James Harden. Listen, Joel Embiid said it best, and I'll requote Joel, where he said most people were looking at James and were assuming that you were getting Houston Rockets James Harden. What you're getting is the 76ers version of James Harden, where he's no longer that get you 35 points in a game type of individual, or 40 points or 50, or the guy that can go for 60 or 70 easily. He's not that person anymore. What you're getting is what some analysts refer to as a shell of himself. And this season, he got about 22 points. If you look at James' stats, just by the stats alone, you would wonder, like, okay, well, what's the problem? All right. So stats are 22 points per game. He played 65 games. His field goal percentage was about 41%. 3-point 33. That's not that great for him because that's drastically down as well. 87% free throw shooter, 7.7 rebounds. His assists have gone up. Right, he's more of a playmaker now. 10 assists per game and 1.3 steals. Not bad, right? Not bad, but most people don't judge James by his stats alone, because the means by how he acquired some of these stats, especially his behavior on and off the court, is what most people question. He forced his way out of Houston and then forced his way out of Brooklyn. Granted, the situation, I find you can justify the situation of how he got himself outside of Brooklyn and how he got himself outside of out of Houston. However, James is one of those players that if situations aren't working in his favor, he tends to, for lack of a better word, quit on you. And that's some of the problem. You really never know if he is one of those key players that can carry a team over the hump. And then last, Steph Curry, the highest paid player in the league to date, 45 million. Let's call it 45.7 or 8 million. Steph, this is well deserved. I'm glad he's on top, at least. Right? This is what you'd call well deserved money. Steph is 6'2", maybe 6'3" with the right shoes on, 185 pounds. Now, the reason why I say all that is because Steph is another one. He's an offensive nightmare. Let me put it in the way that Stephen A put it. With most players, when they get to a certain point or when they get to a certain spot, this is when you need to start guarding them. This is when you need to start worrying about them. When Kevin gets to the 3-point line, Kevin Durant, when he gets to the 3-point line, you need to be worried because he could pull up from anywhere. If he gets inside in the mid-range, you need to really be worried and possibly double, maybe even triple. If he's at the 3-point line, you probably need to double because he can hit. Steph is a little different. Steph Curry, just based on the visual, from the moment he touches the ball, you need to be guarding Steph Curry. Why? Because he can actually hit from anywhere. If he's taking the ball up, if he crosses the line, the halfway line, right? He can actually hit from anywhere. So you need to be on him. His average for the season, for the regular season, was about 25.5. His assists was 6.3, his rebounds 5.2, and it's pretty good for his size, especially. His free throw, one of the highest in the league, if not the highest, 92.3. His three-point shot went down this season, and it went down after he broke the record. After he broke Ray Allen's record of being the highest, of achieving the most three-point shots in the league. Yeah, his percentage went down drastically to where he was almost struggling. I don't know if maybe he just wasn't focusing anymore, but whatever it is, right? He played about 64 games for the regular season. That's because part of that was due to injury. And his percentage in terms of field goal was about 43.7. Definitely worth every dollar. If you can get Steph Curry on your team, keep him. But in terms of his loyalty, he's loyal like Damian Lillard. I don't believe Steph is going anywhere. I believe he may retire in Golden State, and he's in the finals right now. And for the most part, we'll see who takes it, either them or Boston. But in terms of Steph, worth every dollar. So you see, some of these guys are worth the money that they get. Some of these guys have not performed to the level that you would think that they would perform to. We'll see what this next season brings us. But I don't know, maybe you guys disagree with my point. But if you do, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think James is worth, what, 44? Do you think Russell is worth 42, 44? Do you think LeBron should be paid more, especially given the nature of the performances that he's putting up in today's age? You know who I'm surprised that I didn't see? Joel Embiid. And, you know, someone like a Nikola Jokic, even Luka Doncic. I'm surprised these guys aren't more up there. But let me know what you guys think, whether you agree with my points or whether you disagree. Do you think, you know what, no, all of these guys all worth every single dollar? Or are you saying, or are you very much in my camp, which is some of these guys worth what they're getting? But again, I'll see you for the next one, and that's all I got for now. See ya.